Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Riverside Theater's Backstage Chat, a podcast where we get to talk to some of the artisans who work on and around our stages. Led by our executive producer John R. Moses and artistic director Alan D. Cornell, Riverside Theater is the only professional theater on Florida's Treasure Coast. Now, today I'm so excited to welcome Sandy Rustin, playwright, actress, bon vivant, to Riverside. We are so thrilled that you're here, not only in Vero Beach, but at Riverside Theater, your first time with us in person. So,
well, thank you. I'm so happy to be
I'm
here.
hoping you're having a good time,
Oh,
and
having a
you'll
ball.
have a great time going forward. Now, American Theater Magazine has stated you are one of the most prolific and produced playwrights in America.
Oh my gosh.
Isn't that amazing?
Yes.
And granted, we'll just touch on a couple of them.
Okay.
The Cottage, which had a limited run on Broadway just recently.
Yeah.
Clue, which has had over 4,000 productions and is currently touring the country. Mm-hmm. And the reason you're here, the main reason, Mystic Pizza,
Yes.
which will be playing as part of our 24-25 season, playing here at Riverside on our Stark stage from January 7th through the 26th. And we are so thrilled that you're with us today to talk a little bit about the show. Now, what drew you to the story? Now, let's just give the people, it's based on the 1988 film starring Julia Roberts, not a musical,
No.
romantic comedy.
Yeah.
What sort of drew you to that piece to sort of write a musical about it?
Well, I can't claim the idea was mine. The producers of Mystic Pizza had acquired the rights to the film and were looking to create a stage adaptation of it. And so they approached me about that adaptation, and I went back and I watched the movie again, and I thought, well, first of all, I loved the movie when I was a teenager myself. It was Julia Roberts' first breakout film,
Big hit.
So I loved it, and I thought, when I went back and watched it again, I thought this was a real opportunity to take a beloved story, a coming-of-age story of three young women, and look at it now through a contemporary lens. Because at the time, in the late 80s, when Amy Holden Jones first wrote the story, it was really squarely a rom-com in the truest sense of that idea at that time in the 80s. And I was curious to see what happens when you take three women coming of age now.
Right.
And what more do they want than these relationships that they have with the men in their lives? Of course, those relationships are still important and they're still a primary focus of the show, but these three girls want more for themselves in the stage adaptation, and that's really was what was exciting to me, was the opportunity to create more fully realized characters in a full musical. And the idea of doing the musical was gifted to me by the producers, along with the ability to clear rights to some amazing songs from the 80s. So the score is, the whole thing is just steeped in nostalgia, because we've got people dancing in the aisles to these amazing...
The music is the best. I'm on record. The music of the 80s is the best. I know I'm dating myself, but it is phenomenal. And some of them, and we'll talk about some of the songs in the show.
Great.
But the ability to sort of take this film that was done in 88 and sort of, you mentioned them full characters, but even make them fuller, richer, I'm sure was a challenge, but a great challenge.
It was a joy. Whenever I'm doing an adaptation, you receive a treasure trove of information at the beginning of the project. So characters, genre, era, style, tone, often dialogue, plot points, you receive so much information, and it's your task to take that information, try to stay true to it, but also generate and create something that feels wholly new and unique, so that the audience is experiencing simultaneously something familiar and something fresh. And I think that is a wild, wonderful thing to be tasked with as a playwright.
So you were given some of the music?
No.
So you wrote it, and did you have music in mind?
So the goal with this show, which we have achieved, was to create a score comprised of hits, top 10 hits from the 80s and 90s, early 90s.
Best music ever.
There was a top 10 hit either in the US or the UK. That was the sort of mission of what we wanted the music for this to be. And I went about it, as I do whenever I'm working on a jukebox musical, by really thinking of it as a play first. Mm-hmm. So who are these characters? How is the show going to function as a story? What is the story we're looking to tell? When might that story heighten to a point where music would be appropriate? When do we need music? When would music help us here? So that's what I did first. Then once that was sort of crafted, then I could go back in and look at these catalogs upon catalogs of music and say, what would fit best here? And sort of get an A choice, a B choice, a C choice, and then pray to pray to the music licensing clearing gods that they would clear our A choices in each moment. And of course, Carmel Dean, who did the orchestrations and arrangements for this piece, was also instrumental in helping to choose those songs, as was Casey Hushin, our wonderful director. I mean, we were crafting this initially during the pandemic, and so we would take long walks together listening to 80s playlists together and talk about, could this song go here, or maybe this song's better here, and all of those conversations.
Did you have in your mind, as you're writing the scenes, something that might fit? Or it was I'm writing this piece and I'm going to find something that fits it?
Exactly. It was more like that. It was more like actually writing a play without music first. And like I said, sort of understanding where music might fit in. And then once I understood that, then I was able to say, okay, if we were writing a book musical with original compositions, we would want a song here that achieved X, Y, and Z. And sometimes I would even write it out. We need a song here that says, this, that, and the other, that moves the plot forward in this way, that all of the things that you want a song to achieve. And then go to the catalog and try to find some choices that could potentially fit that mold. And I think in going about it that way, the show feels like a true book musical, as opposed to feeling like a jukebox musical where the focus is the score and then you're sort of shoehorning in characters and scenes. We came about it the other way around.
And that's important because I've seen you rehearsing with a couple of the performers the intimate scenes. So it's important. The story is very important.
Yeah.
And yes, the music is fun and it moves the story along, but the basis is the characters and make sure that they're people that you can relate to.
For sure. The story is it. You don't have anything else if you don't have that story solid. And then the hope is that by the time you get to opening night, that everything is seamlessly functioning together, that all the pieces feel like it all came together in one magical moment. And that's the magic of theater. That's what we're working towards.
Maybe you can't answer this question. How difficult was it to get the rights to those?
Well, fortunately, it wasn't up to me, so I actually can't answer that question. All I can say is that, I would send in my wish list for each moment with a little explanation of how it was going to be used, the pages of what the scene looked like, how much of the music we thought we were going to need. Sometimes in a few situations, the publishing house would ask for more information, then I'd have to go back and write some more. But I just continued to sort of send my dreams and the why of what I wanted, and then there were magical music licensing clearing people on the producing team that made it all happen.
That's so exciting.
Yes, it was wonderful. Exciting. Yeah.
Now you mentioned Casey and Carmel.
Yeah.
Talk to me about this team putting the show together. I mean, it's been a process. It's not like just happened overnight.
No. So Casey Hushin is one of my dearest personal friends. We were friends for a long time. She's a wonderful director. And when the project of Clue came into my life, I happened to know that it was one of Casey's most favorite films, and I knew she had the correct sensibility for it. So as we were seeking a director for that piece, I went to her and said, would this be something? And she was like, yes, absolutely. So we decided to work together for the first time. So our first collaboration was on the adaptation of Clue. And the same producing teams, some of the members of that producing team were working on this project of Mystic Pizza. So just as Clue was sort of taking off, we were approached again about partnering on Mystic Pizza, which was a delight to know that we had another project in the works to work on together because we had so much fun with Clue. And then we were paired with Carmel Dean, who's in Australia. Well, she's lived here forever, but she's from Australia. And when we began to work with her, it was during the pandemic. So we were 3 squares on a Zoom screen writing a musical together. We did not meet in person for the first time until our first day of rehearsal for our first production in Maine at the Algonquin Playhouse.
Amazing. 2021.
Yeah. So, and that's been a beautiful friendship and a wonderful relationship. And the 3 of us are looking to do our next show together as well. So, yeah, that's been really exciting. And, especially on a show, this Mystic Pizza is a show about 3 women. And so to be able to have 3 women at the helm of it that are crafting and creating it and putting our whole everything into making this a special experience for our audiences has been awesome.
Well, I think audiences, at least here in Vero Beach, are just going to go gaga.
I hope you're right.
Lady Gaga is a little more current reference. But anyway, they're going to go gaga over the show.
Yes.
You can tell the love and the commitment everyone has to make sure that this is the best show possible. So we're very excited.
That you're saying that. I feel that in the room too. It is a room full of joy and love, and that's been really wonderful to get to be a part of.
First day of rehearsal, even before you began rehearsal, we had a meet and greet with the cast and the staff here at Riverside, and we were in the lobby, and there were 63 of us all around, applauding each other, getting to know each other. There was such a sense of love in the room, and like I mentioned, the compassion and the foresight to bring this beautiful story out to people, because the premise is so much fun. Yeah. You want people to have a good time.
I really do. People deserve it, right? I know. Isn't it amazing to stand in a meet and greet like that with 63 disparate people that have come together with the same shared goal to make something new and to bring something new and creative.
And you become an immediate family.
World. Yes, absolutely.
Which is wonderful.
Yes.
Which is wonderful. Now, like I mentioned, after it plays here, it will go and play 4 weeks at Paper Mill Playhouse, close to home.
Yes, it's 7 minutes from my house.
Very, very cool.
It is.
So after the show performs here in Paper Mill, on a dream.
Yes.
What is your biggest dream for this particular show? Okay, Clue, 4,000 productions and counting going forward. Mystic Pizza.
Yeah, with Mystic Pizza, I think that the producer's dream is for after the Paper Mill for us to be able to book a national tour that would begin hopefully maybe like a year from now or something like that. And as far as pie in the sky dreams, I mean, dream. Like I don't know, but the sky is the limit. So I tend to stay really squarely in the moment of what I'm working on. So for right now, my dream is a fantastic opening night here at Riverside Theater, and then I'll tackle all the rest of the dreams as they come.
I'm sure it will be. But you are a dreamer.
I am.
Because if people were to go to sandyrustin.com.
Oh gosh. Little plug, small plug.
Small plug. You will find a letter that you wrote when you were in 6th grade. And your dream was to become a famous actress and playwright.
Yes.
Now, how did you know at that young age that would be your career? Did you will it to happen?
Maybe. That actually wasn't even a letter. You know what that was the inside cover of a special book I had written for my mom for Mother's Day.
Oh, wow.
Where it was an assignment for school, and you had to write your bio on the inside cover. And so mine said that when I grow up, I hope to be a famous actress and playwright. And I don't know, it was just something in me from, like, I was lucky enough to have a wonderful great-grandmother until I was 16 years old. And she used to say that before I could speak, I would sing. And I turned the dog's leash into a microphone and as I was learning how to walk. So, I think you'll hear that from a lot of theater people, that it's just something in them, this desire to tell stories. My dad was really a funny guy. He was a pediatrician, but we listened to comedy albums in my house more than music. So I grew up really with a clear understanding of the rhythm of comedy. My dad and I memorized Abbott and Costello's Who's on First Routine when I was 7 years old.
I love it.
Right? So it was just something in my growing up. My mom is a children's librarian, so telling stories and books and characters, it was literally part of my everyday the whole time I was growing up. So I just loved characters coming to life. And And so, yeah, it was just always what I wanted to do with my life. So I don't know if I willed it or there was just, I wasn't good. I wasn't really good at anything else. Like
it was ingrained.
Yeah.
It was part of you.
Yeah.
From the beginning,
Exactly.
it was part of you.
Right.
And you have a beautiful singing voice.
Oh, thanks.
Watched your reel.
Oh, gosh.
It's lovely,
Oh,
lovely
thank
voice. But did you start off in improv, comedy, and then that sort of led into writing?
It was sort of all the above. So I grew up in Chicago, which, as everybody knows, is a huge comedy hub. So yes, I grew up as a kid taking improv comedy classes and sketch writing classes, but I was also, I played Annie in the musical at my middle school in the 6th grade, and, was sort of had a dual focus always in musical theater and just theater at large and improv comedy and sketch comedy and all of those things. So my first job out of college, I played Sandy in the national tour of the musical Grease.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Typecast.
Yeah, exactly. And so that was a real education, and that sort of launched me into a life of working as an actor primarily for most of my 20s. And it wasn't really until I became a parent when I was 29 that I decided 8 shows a week wasn't really conducive to my schedule as a new mom, and really switched my focus into writing professionally at that time. So, yeah.
It's amazing. You've done some tremendous work.
Thanks.
I invite everyone to go to sandyrustin.com and find and see all the great pieces that you've done.
Thanks.
You've written for the stage, you've written for TV, you've written for film, but right now we want you to focus, you listeners, on Mystic Pizza, which will be here at Riverside Theater January 7th through the 26th. Now, to get back to Mystic, is there something that you would like audiences to feel or remember as they leave the theater after seeing the show?
I think what we're designing very intentionally is an evening of fun. It should feel thoughtful. It should feel heartfelt. It should make people think. But ultimately, at the end of the day, we are hoping for people to come and dance in the aisles and remember songs that they just had a ball with, and watch these 3 young women blossom into to sort of find the beginning of what's going to be their next chapter of their lives. And yeah, we're just looking to create an escape.
And we all need an escape. We all need a good time out.
I think so too.
I love that your website not only lists you as writer, actress, raising mensches.
Oh, yes.
Now, for those who unfamiliar, mensch is the Yiddish word meaning a good person.
That's right.
But after knowing you just a short time, I can tell you that it takes a good person to raise good people.
Oh, Oscar.
It's true.
That's so nice.
It's true.
Well, if you met my boys, I think you would agree. They are indeed wonderful menches.
Well, Florida in January is not a bad option for the family.
That's true. My in-laws live in Sarasota, actually.
Oh, there you go.
So we're
Awesome.
often in Florida in the winter.
Wonderful,
Yes.
wonderful. Well, Sandy, thank you so much for taking the time. You have busy days ahead, and we're so grateful and thankful that you are with us now, sharing your light,
Thanks.
just like Gail C.
Yes.
is Miss Light. You and she are very like-minded in that regard. So thank you so much for your time.
It was my pleasure. Thanks for being interested.
And thank you again for listening to another episode of Riverside Theater's Backstage Chat. Until next time, I'm Oscar Sales.